of my clients say you're really laid back and everything is good. So I somehow internalize it all and just keep that calm demeanor. The biggest piece of advice when I first start out it is
Today on Time to Discuss, I want to welcome Tara Thistlethwaite. It's time to discuss what it's like being an event planner. Tara, thank you for joining me today.
my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, absolutely. This is cool. I know very little about event planners. I know they exist. I know generally speaking what they do, but that's kind of where my knowledge ends. So
Right.
let's talk about your day. Your typical day as an event planner. What is that like?
Yes. So I think it's like two-sided. I think, our time in the office is vastly different than the actual day itself. So it's really kind of this twofold week of prepping, getting all the documents and stuff together, and then really kind of doing all the legwork, figuring out all the logistics, talking through all the vendors, really kind of behind the scenes, being a kind of a single entrepreneur. I sit in my office and kind of do my thing, and then completely changes come event day, being out in front of everyone and really just taking the reins and running with it to make sure I say I'm here to make sure all the vendors that my clients have hired can do their jobs as best they can. So really just being a huge team player come wedding day or event day, just because there's so many moving parts. There's always things that come up and that need dealt with on the spot. And we're there, boots on the ground for at least 12 hours. So, I mean, it is a very intense walking and lots of, I get my steps in on event days and make for long evenings, long days, but we stay all the way to the very end of the evening, and the hug is the appreciation from our clients is just phenomenal.
That is awesome. So when people utilize your professional services, how far in advance do they typically book out? Is it 3 months, 6 months? What is that typically like?
It really kind of flexes. I mean, pre-COVID, it was probably about 6 months, 6 to 8 months. Um, COVID threw a nice little wrench in there and everything kind of changed a bit. But I really want to say it's finally kind of back to that 6 to 8 months out. Now we specialize in more called event management. So, the clients might have found their venue, set their date, but then realize, oh my gosh, this is very overwhelming for me. And I don't want to be this point person come, event day. We want to be talking and socializing and being with our dearest friends and family that are come to celebrate these special days. And yeah, it's interesting. I literally have a client today, or had an inquiry today for 2027. So we're all over the place.
Invariably, whenever people talk about COVID, my mind immediately jumps to remote stuff. So, how has that changed your landscape? Are you saving a bunch of time now, where you're able to do a lot of your pre meetings over Zoom or something like that? What is that like for you now?
I feel like we definitely default to kind of the Zoom calls, which are really just the time spent transporting back and forth, because we have a huge range. We go from, I say it's a 2 hour radius, so we can be out in South Jersey, to Lancaster, we're based in Downingtown, so we kind of go wherever. So those online meetings definitely save some just travel time. But again, I just love being in front of people. There's not that genuine conversation that you can have, and the laughter and just the exchanging of being physically present with someone I still always default to.
If I remember correctly, I believe this is your own business, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about that. How did you actually get started with that?
Oh, buddy. You ready? I feel like I've always been that person to organize, to bring people together. I have an IT degree. So, we really kind of went to school for that and thought I'd be kind of in corporate America my whole life. I worked at Vanguard for a little bit and market research. And then my husband and I moved out to Seattle for a few years. And again, still always had that thread of all my jobs. I was always that one putting the holiday parties together or the summer activities. And then once we kind of moved back to the area again, it was really when I decided to figure out what I wanted to be when I grow up, and really just jumped into the event planning full time. I've started with another company, and then my business is the past 6 years. So all told, I've been doing this full time, plus some kids, for about 13 years. So, and it's phenomenal. I can't even imagine going and doing something else at this stage in life right now.
That's awesome. That's great that you found your calling, so to speak. That it really you knocked at an answer. I love it. I love it.
Yes, yes, yeah. I mean, it's the background, the logistics, the spreadsheets, and I think that's where the IT background really comes into play. But I love people. I love being able to just communicate and provide and just help them with, oh, going through this whole process of these massive events that they're planning, and bringing my knowledge and being just a resource for my clients, so they don't feel alone or they feel like they have to reach the end of the internet searching for something, and they just shoot me an email and say, hey, Tara, what have you done with this before? And if I haven't dealt with it before, it's a great opportunity to always be constantly learning.
When you're talking about starting your business, my mind immediately jumps to different sourcing different products or people. And my mind originally I thought of Risha Walden. She was a vegan interior designer that I spoke with the summer of 24. I think I spoke with her,
Okay.
and she talked about how she sourced her vegan materials for the interior design. So that's kind of where my brain is right now. When it comes to you, when you're sourcing different other companies, maybe they're florists, or maybe they're I don't even know what people you deal with, but how did that all come together? Like building up your circle of people that you use that you can utilize for different events.
Absolutely. Yes. I think that, and that's another side of me that just loves to be kind of that outgoing, networking events, different organizations. I'm part of the Exton Chamber of Commerce. I'm part of the Western Chester County Chamber of Commerce, some other women's organizations that I've been a part of. And it really is, I think it's just my personality that you kind of, again, I don't come into a space and say like, oh, I'm telling the caterer how to do their job. So at the end of the day, really handshaking with everyone. And that was able to just, I'm dealing with probably at least 5 different vendors at each event, 5 plus. So really just keeping that Rolodex going from the very onset of the day. When I first started out, I was working at the Chester County History Center. So we started a networking group and a wedding showcase that we did over there. So that was a great opportunity to, one, showcase my skills, but also kind of network and entrench myself in the community as well.
If someone is looking to get started and they want to do what you're doing, from a networking perspective, what are the best opportunities out there? Is the Chamber of Commerce the best place to start? Facebook, other social media? Where's the best way to just kind of get the ball rolling?
Ooh, that's a great question. I would say just really kind of, we had a lot of people just reach out and say like, hey, we want to try this out. And I'm always looking for assistance come event days. So it is, an internship or, well, I mean, I will pay you. There's long hours in this industry. So, but really just hitting the ground running and being present on a wedding day and seeing the documents that we put together, being present for, all of those different pieces that move throughout the day to see kind of like, oh, we did this because of that, and really just taking notes. So I would say just reaching out to local planners and seeing if you can just start where you could start and see if you really like it, because it definitely, everyone thinks it's just, oh, it's amazing and it's so much fun, but it is a lot of work. It's a lot of physicality that goes into event days.
I spoke with Nathan Bim. He is a sommelier. And
Oh, awesome.
at the time of this recording, his episode has not dropped yet. His episode actually drops in, I think, 2 or 3 weeks at this point.
Okay.
But he said a very similar thing. If you wanted to become a wine expert, my words, a wine expert, or a wine taster, he had a very similar path for people to take. It doesn't necessarily mean a 4-year degree or something like that. It was
Absolutely.
like this is something you can do. This is tangible. This is real. This is a real path you can take. And I love that you were saying a very similar thing, where it's like if people are interested in becoming an event planner, like but reach out, see if people want to bring you on as like an intern, as hired help, and kind of get your feet wet. I love that. I love it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, like my background, like I said, I've done corporate America. I've done, all of these other jobs that are very just behind the computer. But I think it's helped with that. But yeah, I have a couple different certifications, that once I did that kind of boots on the ground. I was an intern when I kind of first got into this, was insane to think about nowadays. But once I really decided like, okay, this is going to be where I want to be. I have some different certifications and you can continue on, but I definitely don't think you need to go like full-time school for something like this, especially where I had changed, I had a career and this was my second one or whatever one I'm on right now.
So let's talk about education for a second. So you went to school for IT,
Yep.
and then you got other certifications. It sounds like. Talk to me about that other education that you had to supplement what you're doing now. Talk to me about that.
Sure. Yeah. So it was through Temple University. Again, this is how old I am. I don't even know if they offer that anymore, but it was just, again, it was all local event planners that were putting on this kind of course. It was a non-credit course, but at the end, I really, again, just made some awesome connections through the local planners and local event managers that were actually working in the industry, which was another way that I kind of worked my way in and just made friends and said, yes, I'll be there, and showed up and did what I needed to do.
When you're doing that certification, do they cover the business side of things as well, as far as like maybe taxes, forming your business, anything like that, or not so much?
Not as much. I think we talked about it a little bit, but being the business background, I didn't really need that. As much. I feel like you could always learn from it, but it has definitely been a learning process, being even having that business degree, that now I'm like, oh, okay, I'm actually using this however many years later. So yes.
Okay, okay. Thinking about events in general. So when I think of an event planner, honestly, I think of like a wedding planner.
Hmm.
My brain just immediately goes there.
Yep.
So what other types of events are out there that you actually are helping to plan?
Weddings are, the biggest one that come to mind, with lots of moving parts. But I mean, the nonprofits that having different charity events, it really kind of, the underlying um, groundwork is all there. It's all the networking, the logistics behind all of these moving parts, being able to get all of that stuff organized to then execute on event day. So it can be, we've done birthday parties, we've done retirement parties, really anything that's going to involve a lot of moving parts. And then the clients being like, okay, we want to actually celebrate this and not feel like, oh, did the cake show up yet? Or where's transportation at right now? So it's really just any really kind of larger corporations that having their offsite meeting is to really just anything. You definitely, I would say 80% of our work is wedding planning. But again, we help out with a couple of local nonprofits, which is great. And again, it really comes back to those just logistics and thinking one step ahead of the game.
Let's talk about stress levels. So in a past life, I ran sound. I ran live sound, and you go through the rehearsals and everything, and you got it all down. And before the actual performance starts, you might have had a rehearsal earlier that day. You leave, you walk away from the mixer, and everything is good. You come back, and you assume it's all still set up the way you had it. You assume it's all going to work, but there's always that level of uncertainty, that level of stress, where it's like, until this thing actually starts, I won't know I'm going until it starts.
Right.
And that's kind of, for me, that the stress would kind of just melt away at that point. So for
Mhm.
you, what's the stress level like on the day of the event? Is it, 12 hours of stress, or is it kind of like once you get about halfway through, things are okay? What is that like?
Honestly, on wedding days, it's as soon as we get that ceremony first song starts playing and the processional starts and everyone's starting to walk, it's that, like, okay, that it's just this nervous energy that everyone has, wedding party, the wedding couple. So I would say there's definitely that, like, breath that you get once the ceremony has started. I am an extreme type A personality, and I think that's why I'm good at what I do. But I'm very stressed about a lot of things all the time. But all of my clients say, like, you're really laid back and everything is good. So I somehow internalize it all and just make it, keep that calm demeanor as much as needed. But the biggest piece of advice when I first start out, it is just, if there's something goes wrong, if something happens, make a decision and keep moving forward. And that's been just a huge piece of advice for me that I keep coming back to, because it's like, if you stop, if you're stagnant, then everything's going to fall apart. But if you have a decision and if you're continuing to move forward, even if it's not the right decision at the time, you're still moving forward with whatever. And there is not an event that has ever gone as 110% smoothly. There's always something. Mother Nature, transportation, traffic, you name it, and we've had to deal with it.
So, do different types of events lend to more or less challenges, or are they just different challenges? What's that like?
That's a great question too. I think weddings, I mean, just because the energy is there, you're really kind to get all these people together and the expectations are high. But I think it just depends. It really depends on the clients, how many vendors, a lot of moving parts. If they're, if we're taking photos at one site and getting ready, and then we're having to transport to the ceremony and then transport again to reception. So it just really, the dynamic of its individual event kind of allows for the amount of stress levels that come and go.
What kind of control do you have over? I mean, you're going to have a lot of control over this because it's your business. But as far as like sustainability goes, how much control do you have over the types of events you choose to work with?
Mhm.
Is it more like you said, a lot of it is weddings. So
Yeah.
if someone's like, well, I don't want to do weddings, I don't want to deal with any of that, are they going to
Mhm.
have a problem being an event planner? Is there enough other stuff that they can?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, 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 yes. My other lead, so it's myself, and I've got two other leads that work with me along with many assistants. But yes, her full-time job is doing this for corporate America and putting on their big training programs and different conferences, traveling all over the place. So yeah, it definitely can be, not the nights and weekends. It could be more 9 to 5 with those type of events as well. Again, they're always going to be the stress behind all of the moving parts. And, I think sometimes it's just making sure, sometimes relying on vendors to make, or other folks to make sure they can do their job is also the dynamic is a little intense sometimes too.
Okay, let's hang on that for a second. So, and I don't know how much you know about this, but is that if someone is working in the corporate environment, they're working with like conferences or whatever, um, are those are those event planners typically contracted or are they like in-house employees? What is that typically like?
It depends on the size of the company. A lot of the times it's, your HR department, kind of your marketing department that's going to really kind of be those certain jobs. The large organizations, obviously, they have the bandwidth and the income to support that in those different roles. But I think, the smaller companies, it's the kind of the CEO or something might get an idea and the HR person is now in charge of this, or, and we definitely have been reached out to by larger companies to be contracted for, because they don't have someone in-house that they're familiar with.
I'd like to ask this question. This one's always fun. So one thing I'd like to ask is I like to identify different hurdles along the way, different obstacles people might have to overcome, and the sooner they can discover these obstacles, the better. Okay, so what is one thing about your particular job that if a person is not good at whatever, this job is not for them, what would that thing be?
Organization. If you are not, I mean, like I said, extreme type A personality. I mean, I track everything, every little detail, especially for the larger events and having to maintain just the level of detail for, the changes, but really what gets done wedding day and planning leading up to it is essential.
I wasn't sure if you want to go with organization or with like a people skills, like
No.
communicating with people, being in front of people.
I think organization, I mean, I feel like, even if you're not the most people friendly oriented, you can still really execute a job well, but it definitely is helpful if you are pleasant to be around when things are not going exactly to plan. um, but I think organization, it would definitely be kind of that just quintessential need.
So how about this? Invariably, our families like to leverage our skills that we have. You know where I'm going with this, I think.
Yes.
How often, if there is an event that's being planned within your family, your siblings, whatever, how often are you the planner for that? By either by choice or by not? How often do you get roped into that?
Always. Family vacations, any sort of holiday events that we're doing, the spreadsheets come out and Tara's in charge. And, it's just, it kind of, we've been doing this for so long, it's almost second nature. It's almost easier for me to kind of just take on that role because I know exactly what needs to be done. I definitely am a little bit of a control freak with allowing kind of that control to not be with me. But no, I mean the most family vacations are one of those that yeah, we definitely just default to me with what's going on and who's going where and but yeah, so
Earlier in 2025, I spoke with Mike Fompkin, and he's a talent manager. And
okay.
one of the things he said when working with aspiring models is that they might not be ready for the delay in getting paid that goes with that. Because typically there's like, net 30 days with this company and net 30 days with that one. It kind of like trickles down. So they might not get paid for 90 days or something like that.
Sure.
So how does that affect your business? Are you in a similar situation where it's like, even though the event is, it was yesterday, you might not get full payment for another 30, 60 days. Is that an issue for you? Is that because you're in business, you have control over that more? What's that like for you?
Yes. Again, the controlling in me, we require actually full payment to be made 30 days out. So just with, again, I just sending contracts and proposals out, I really get to kind of look at how far out and kind of break it down. So it's the payment can be not as shocking sometimes, especially with my full service clients. So, and again, I'm a small business. So if this, one of four payments doesn't work and we need to do one of six, absolutely. So obviously May, June, and then come the fall are the extreme busy times. So again, I like to kind of spread things out a little bit so we're not just having, payments come in those certain months. So we're getting the payments and the income throughout the entire year.
So let's talk about that for a second. What does your year typically look like? Are you working like during the summer 6 days a week, but then the winter, like January to March, it's like you might be working 1 day a week. How does that all ebb and flow?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it definitely, there are busier times for events. Obviously, the fall, especially with weddings, just because the weather is so much better. This June was an absolute nightmare. But it is, I would say January through March is kind of our prep season. So we are not necessarily doing the events. We're really kind of going to networking events and really just laying the groundwork for all of the events that are going to be happening that year. I like to kick off in March just because one, the weather's a little bit better and a little bit more predictable. One less thing for me to stress about. So really kind of March, April, May. It allows us to kind of, being the small business, I'll take the first pick. But if I'm busy or if I'm booked already and I can send it out to my other leads, and they can take some. But yeah, May, June is another obviously bigger event months because the weather is nicer. July, August, not as much, just because it's just good old Pennsylvania. It's a little warm. But again, those times are really for prepping for the fall season. I mean, we kick off actually next weekend and we go every single weekend until Halloween.
So you talked earlier about your area that you worked in. You talked about South Jersey. I think you said Maryland.
Yeah.
Um, as a business that specializes in event planning, how important is it to kind of like spread out over a geographical distance? Is that
Mm.
just by choice, or is it like you need to do that? What is that like?
It's kind of by choice. I mean, I feel like sometimes our clients will take us to new places. I love exploring new things and meeting new vendors and really just growing the network that I have. So I mean, we had a client last year. We did upstate New York, and it was magical. We was a destination. The client lived literally like 3 miles from me, but we drove up to Lake George and had this absolutely incredible event. And again, I think it just speaks to I didn't know any of the other vendors, the DJ, the photographer. So just getting to know them via the Zoom calls, and leading up to it, and really just being able to work with an awesome team that day was super fun.
That is so cool that it just kind of takes you a little bit over here, a little bit over
Yes.
there. I love that.
Yes,
Oh man.
yes, yes, yes. And everyone's like, oh, it's the weddings. It's always the same. And it is absolutely not. I mean, between the clients and yes, the groundwork, the logistics, you have a ceremony, you have cocktail hour, and you have reception. But the dynamic of all of those different changes and personalities and just the vendors and the venues are magical. And I love with each new one brings a new adventure.
That is so cool. Ah, I love it. I love it. Tara, I feel like we just kind of scratched the surface on this, but unfortunately, I am running short on time. One thing I like to do whenever I'm speaking with someone, I like to give them the opportunity to talk about a project they're working on, a cause they believe in, more about your business. So if there's something
Yes.
specific you'd like to discuss, the floor is yours.
For sure, yes. Kind of getting back to that networking side of things, there's obviously larger organizations, but we kicked off, it's called the Chester County Wedding Connection. And it's just a local organization for us vendors. On a lot of event days, we're scrambling, we're busy and doing this and that. So it's a great way for us to kind of connect with each other and entrench those relationships that much further. And we're having a really fun showcase, we're calling it, in November. It's called Pop the Question. It's a quizzo night. We're going to do a quizzo night, and all the vendors are going to be there, so you can network and meet, a photographer that you're looking for or your DJ, and just have a super fun time connecting with other local engaged couples.
That's awesome. I'll make sure I get all the information from you.
Yeah.
I'll get the links. I'll put them in the show notes, the website. They'll be in the description. They'll be all over the place. So when people are trying that information, when people are trying to
Amazing.
find that information, they can easily find you.
Awesome. Yes, 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 yes. I always love to just a new challenge, a new fun thing to do. I just love what I do and bringing people together and sharing this awesome community that we're a part of.
That is awesome. And you can tell you're so passionate about it. I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Tara, it's been absolutely fantastic having you on Time to Discuss, and we learned what it's like to be an event planner.
Yay. Thank you so much for having me.